Okay, so number one, a little bit open-ended. I mean, you can explain this a few different ways. So the answer I wrote was, use common sense when you can, but you need mathematical methods for complex problems. If you wanted to say some problems are easier and some problems are harder, I could go with that. But some sort of, you're trying to get some sort of capture of an idea that sometimes the answer is just obvious and you don't really need a lot of like math ability to do all math problems. But some problems are hard and it takes some education to be able to do them. That's the theme of that. 2 is the question that I referenced yesterday that I said if a person with general life knowledge showed up and just used their brain and their knowledge of general life knowledge, 2 would be, one of the questions would be scoreable. It is number 2. What's the giveaway in number 2 that even if you didn't read anything, you could get 2 scored? Yeah. The pyramids. So the pyramids are found, most people know, in Egypt. So this is Egyptians. So 2 is the Egyptians. Egyptians were good at measuring things. They were good at noticing things. The pyramids are quite a masterful feat of engineering for that time in history. But 2 is the Egyptians. 3 is the Greeks. We'll get back to the Greeks in just a minute. That's our new ones. 4 to the end is just stuff from yesterday. So for 4's group, points have no area, lines have no width, planes have no thickness. 10, we have to spell right to get the full point. If they have something that looks like theorem, we'll give it, but only the full point if it's Theorem. 11 is blah blah, geometry stuff. 12 is postulate, also has to be spelled correctly, P-O-S-T-U-L-A-T-E. P-O-S-T-U-L-A-T-E. 13, it just is. 14 is a definition. 15, you'd get half a point for the word category. You'd get half a point for something like specific properties. Does it have to be those exact words? Not necessarily, but you have to capture the idea. So if you said particular facts, particular facts, those are meaningful synonyms for specific properties. If somebody said specific details instead of specific properties, like that, those words work. That doesn't have to be my exact 2 words, but it has to have something with that idea. Each of those blanks would be a half in 15 to make 15 a full point question. 16 also has 2 half points to make a full point question. If somebody said only postulates, they got a half a point out of that. If somebody said it's the undefined terms, they got a half a point out of that. But if you want to get a full point out of that, you have to say both postulates and undefined terms. 17, I'm pretty much looking for my 3-word answer, and I'd say if we're off by a word or 2, I'd go half. But if you have none of these words, you got shot out. I'd be looking for logical, I'd be looking for convincing, I'd be looking for argument. So if they just said argument, I'll go a half. If they just say logic, I'll go a half. If they just say convincing, I'll go a half. If they got 2 of the words, I'll still go a half. But to get the full point on that, we need to hit all 3 words: logical, convincing, argument, boom, boom, boom. Looking at today's 2 versus 3, who do you feel like they were indicating was better? Egyptians or the Greeks? Greeks. Why? Anybody a thought on why do they were sort of leading you to feel like the Greeks were probably a little bit just better. Why were the Greeks better than the Egyptians?
Because they advanced what the Egyptians did.
They did, but they did something the Egyptians didn't really do.
Applied logical reasoning.
Yeah, they used reasoning to prove things. So again, geometry proof is going to be a big, big deal. The Egyptians would be sort of like, hey, this seems like it would work. This seems like this might be the pattern. And they were like, just good with that. The Greeks were like, yeah, that does seem like it might be the pattern. Let's see if we can figure out why, is more what they were after. So the Greeks basically invented geometry as we know it. But that's just a little bit of history there. The homework, we'll look at the homework page in a minute, but not yet. We'll double back to that. For next time, if your book's handy, we'll be taking a brief tour through the book, so just leave that out if you've got it. The reading for Tuesday, if you look and flip to page 13, on page 13 there's a story of a person. Pretty much every time a chapter ends, there will be a story of a person. And there's always a couple points on the person that'll make the quiz. So when we get around to Monday, there will be 3 points worth of the person. You will never have a question where well, there will be some questions where I'll just say, tell me some stuff about the person. And you just kind of say 1, 2, 3 things about the person. I would never give you a point for saying, he did math. Okay? Because they wouldn't be in this book if they didn't do math. So that would never score you anything. They did geometry. I would never give you a point for they did something with geometry, because everybody did something with geometry. That's why they're in the book. But if you said, he wrote a book called this, he gave a speech called that, he invented a type of geometry called this, he made this discovery, he lived in 1800, he was from England, this is a woman, this is the person's name. Those are things that I would take as points. So as you read that, you want to come away with that knowing some things about it. Now sometimes I might specifically say, what country was this person from? There's one person that has a disability, and I'll ask, like, what specific disability did this person have? Because if you read it, and they go on and on about this person's disability, if you read it, you'll know what their disability was. That won't be hard to notice, okay? So if there's something that's like important about them, I might ask a particular detail, but sometimes I'll just ask, like, tell me some stuff about the person. But names are usually good, places are good, books they wrote, things they did, times they lived in, those kinds of things. So from page 13, be ready to know 3 things worth of this person from the page. A lot of the names, you won't be able to say them until I say them, and even when I say them, you might not be able to say them because some of the names are a little bit exotic. But you should at least be able to spell the names close. It's a pretty fair chance I'd ask you for the people's name. You know, that's a pretty important fact about a person. So that's a little bit of the reading. Then we'd be popped up into chapter 2. Chapter 1's already over. So there isn't going to be a chapter 1 test. That'd be sort of weird with early in the year to be taking a chapter test. The chapter test will be covering chapters 1 and 2. So we're going to pop up into chapter 2 and read 2.1. When you read 2.1, there's going to be a one question that'll be a fill in the blank. And then there's going to be a matching group where there's a lot of vocabulary words. The vocabulary words mostly have symbols to abbreviate them. And you'll do a matching 5-point section where you're going to match a word with a symbol. And this isn't new to your life for math. Like, you know that's a symbol, you know that's a symbol, this is for adding, this is for subtracting. It's not going to be that simple, but you know, if I could make you a matching quiz with symbols versus the words add, subtract, multiply, divide. They're going to introduce you to like 5 or so new words with 5 or so new symbols. You're going to need to match those. If you aren't in the habit of doing this, you want to, whenever I'm giving you these tips, you want to write them down somewhere. Like, I'm telling you what's on the quiz. By Tuesday, you will not remember what I said. Okay? But if you write down what I'm saying is on the quiz, you will remember what's on the quiz and you will do much better. So I'll do a quick recap of that one more time. As you step from now to Tuesday, there's reading page 13. There will be 3 points about the person. When you read 2.1, there's 1 fill-in-the-blank question, and then there's going to be a matching group of 5, where you're going to have to match words with symbols. So that makes 9 total new points you have to read for. The other stuff from today just goes instant replay zone. If you look at today's quiz, everything from 4 to the end is just going to be an instant replay. The 3 undefined terms, the postulates, the theorems, the definitions, all that stuff. Everything we did today from 4 and down. Same questions, same stuff, no changes to make. If you knew it today, you'll still hopefully know it Tuesday. If you missed it today, tune up a little bit for Tuesday. So 9 points of semi-mystery from the new, 14 points of instant replay from the old. Questions 1, 2, 3, I'll be back for the test someday, but I'm not going to ask you every day about the Egyptians and the Greeks. To know what a postulate is going to be a really big deal. To know the Egyptians versus the Greeks, we could live without that. Okay. Anybody a question about what you're trying to study for? That quiz will be 23. The Tuesday quizzes are 23. 9 old, 9 new, 14 old. Question on that breakdown? Let's take a little bit of a homework preview while our books are handy. What you're working on for homework is at page 9. Page 9 starts off with pairs of problems. There's like an easy one and there's a harder one. But I don't know that you're going to need a super lot of advice on those. Let's look at 4. So page 9, let's preview number 4. Number 4, what they're doing is they're drawing a circle. And they are picking out 2 points at first to play connect the dots. And they're saying when we connect those dots, there's 2 different regions that got created. There's like a top part and a bottom part. Then they added on a 3rd point, and they connected the dots in every possible way and said, now there's 4 zones. Then they added on another point and played connect the dots again. And they counted up how many little slivers they made. And their count is up to 8. And then the count went up to 16. And you probably feel semi-confident that you could guess what the next number should be. Can anybody guess what the next number should be of number 4s? 32. Because what's it seem like it's doing every time?
Just multiplying times.
Seems like it's just doubling each time. So 32 seems like a reasonable guess. Congratulations, you're an Egyptian. It seems like there's a pattern there. Maybe it's 32. We're trying to make you into Greeks. Because are you actually sure there's 32? No. The only way you're going to be sure there's 32 is to check it and do it. So if you on your homework paper draw a circle that's like this big and put 6 dots on it and connect those dots every which way, how much success will you have in counting how many little slivers you made? 0% chance. What would be some things that you would have to do to be a good Greek and actually like have your answer be pretty accurate? Draw a bigger circle. Okay, so if I were doing this on my board, I'd go with like a super big circle. I'm relatively pleased with that circle. That's pretty circular. Okay? If my first attempt at a circle had been like that, that's not even terrible, but that's definitely more oval. I think I'd probably start over. You know, if that were my circle, I would not build from there. That is not going to take you anywhere good, because that's not even close to being a circle. If you are drawing impaired, that's okay. What would you do on your paper if you were drawing impaired and you're trying to make a circle that's decent? Trace something. So, you know, that's a decent sized circle. That's pretty close to me. Grab something that's a circle thing and trace it. Then you'd want to put your 6 dots on here. And then you start trying to connect the dots. I would not connect dots like, oh, randomly connect, randomly connect, randomly connect. You're going to miss some stuff. What would be a better way to get your dots connected? Go in some sort of order. Pick this dot, connect it to every other dot. Move on. Connect that to every other dot. Move on. Do it in some sort of an orderly way that would help you. Am I going to have success with this project? No. So how can we avoid that problem?
Ruler or something.
Grab a ruler or something. If you're a great drawer, you don't need a ruler. But if you're like me, I would use a ruler. I'm not a good freehand drawer, so I would connect my stuff with a ruler. And then when you count them, somehow like put a dot each one you counted. Don't go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I do that one? Let me start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, which ones did I, like you'll sit there forever counting. You want to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like number them or something as you count. That would be an effective way to be an effective Greek when you go to do 4. 6, I don't think you need me. 7, I don't think you need me. 9, give it a shot without me. 4 is the main one that's probably worth a preview. You know, don't turn me in something like this. Do like a neat orderly job. Be a good Greek. Question about homework preview 9? Okay, let's